A 150-meter steel longliner leaves harbor behind, bound for cold offshore ground.
Every swivel and meter of line is checked, because one weak link could cost a massive Atlantic salmon. Large circle hooks are chosen to lock cleanly into the jaw hinges of powerful giant Atlantic salmon.
Heavy baitfish sit ready beside the drum, fuel for a long line designed to intercept migrating Atlantic salmon offshore. The North Atlantic throws spray over the bow, reminding the crew that just reaching salmon grounds demands respect.
Branch lines are stacked in tight coils, each destined to carry a single baited hook into open water. Bait is pinned deep onto each hook, a deliberate offering aimed at giant Atlantic salmon cruising the current lanes. Floats and weights wait in order, ready to suspend baited hooks across the exact depths salmon are expected to travel. Without sonar or screens, the captain reads paper charts and currents, relying on memory to find salmon migration corridors. With coordinates fixed and gear ready, the crew prepares to lay steel and bait across the path of giant Atlantic salmon. Baited hooks slip into deep offshore water, forming the first meters of a steel corridor built for Atlantic salmon.
Below the surface, baited hooks drift into formation, hanging in mid-water along an invisible migration highway.
Each hook waits in empty blue, a silent question suspended at the altitude salmon are expected to cross. Slowly, a curtain of bait takes shape, a man-made line woven across the natural flow of the Atlantic. Plankton and minor fish drift past, background actors to a scene set for much larger Atlantic salmon.
At the surface, floats mark where baited steel cuts across the current like a line drawn by hand.
Far off, thick-bodied salmon emerge from the haze, their silver flanks flashing as they hold formation in the current.
A group of giant Atlantic salmon cruises past the line, studying the unexpected cluster of suspended baitfish.
One salmon breaks formation, rolling slightly as it inspects a single bait with cautious precision.
The school pulses along the steel corridor, rising and falling as they weigh the risk of easy meals.
Instinct wins, and one giant salmon leaps on the bait, swallowing steel and fish in a single committed bite.
In a heartbeat, slack vanishes as the branch line straightens, driving the circle hook into the jaw hinge.
On the surface, a single float kicks sideways, translating the salmon's shock into motion and the crew can read. The crew locks onto the moving float, bodies already pivoting toward the rail where the line will return.
Below, the hooked salmon explodes into a lateral run, turning the branch line into a vibrating diagonal cable. The circle hook holds firm at the jaw hinge, keeping control while avoiding unnecessary damage to the fish. Other salmon shadow the struggle, drawn to the commotion yet wary enough to ignore the remaining hooks.
Another float twitches down the line, hinting that more than one giant has taken the baited steel. A second salmon commits in deep mid-water, doubling the stakes along a system built to handle multiple heavy fish at once.
On the stern, the hauler is armed, ready to trade human endurance for controlled mechanical power.
Across the spread, two hooked salmon pull hard, bending the main line into a shallow arc through the water.
One giant powers ahead, its muscular frame turning stored migration energy into a desperate sprint against the line.
Silver scales ripple as the salmon twists, every muscle in its thick body recruited to break free. Suddenly it turns and drives toward the light, dragging the branch line upward in a steep, grinding angle.
The system strains under two separate battles, while the rest of the school slips back into the open blue.
Minute after minute, the hooked salmon keeps driving forward, refusing to settle into predictable circles.
Its tail carves the same arc again and again, each stroke burning energy it cannot replace.
The run slows into a wide circle, a sign the fish is searching for a new angle rather than pure speed. It rolls its body to shift the line, trying to change how the tension bites into its jaw hinge.
Surface light glows far above as fatigue creeps in, gill covers flaring with every breath it has left.
Both hook giants are still moving, but their circles tighten, broadcasting exhaustion up the line toward the vessel. The hook stays seated exactly where it should, holding control without shredding flesh. Eventually, one giant angles upward, pulled by the line and its own fading strength toward the surface. Across the system, lines point up, showing that the battles below are finally shifting toward the surface.
One silhouette nears the shimmering ceiling, closing the distance between deep-water struggle and the waiting crew.
At the hull, floats pitch and drag against the swell, signaling that heavy salmon are finally lifting from depth.
The hauler grinds the line home, converting the salmon's wild surges into slow, controlled gains for the crew.
Each meter of recovered line drags the float closer, its wake mapping every stubborn pull from below. Men lean back against harnesses, feeling every tremor from the giant salmon through the stainless guides.
The branch line knot rises into view, proof that the salmon's long fight is finally nearing the surface.
A guide pole snaps onto the branch line, giving the crew extra control without driving metal into the fish. A thick silver head erupts beside the hull, the first clear look at a truly giant Atlantic salmon.
Its body stretches thick and torpedo-shaped beneath the surface, clearly built for powerful migration runs.
It thrashes in tight arcs, sending spray against steel, but never close to threatening the vessel itself.
A wide strap slips around the tail, trading a vulnerable line connection for a secure, controlled lift point. Once the strap takes the load, the crane begins sharing the burden, easing tension from the longline system.
The crane lifts the salmon clear, heavy muscle and silver skin dripping seawater back onto the deck.
Steel meets scale as the first giant arrives on deck, solid proof that the longline plan is working.
With the last fish aboard, floats settle back into the swell, the longline now a relaxed thread under the surface.
The first fish is tied off quickly, freeing gear and mines for the battles still waiting down the line.
A second giant rolls at the surface, tail carving white arcs through deep offshore water beneath the hull.
The crew repeats the process without wasted motion, securing another heavy tail and a broad strap.
Moments later, a second thick-bodied salmon lands beside the first, doubling the value of this haul sequence.
Soon, a short row of giants marks the deck, each one a solid increment in the trip's running total.
The tape confirmed what eyes already suspected. This Atlantic salmon sits firmly in the giant category.
Another fish rises from deep water, its thick silicate sliding up through blue toward the waiting rail.
The final branch lines come aboard, some hooks straightened or empty, quiet evidence of battles the crew never saw.
With pressure released, floats ride the swell like ordinary markers again, the hidden tension gone.
Gear is coiled and stowed, resetting the system so it can be deployed again when conditions call for it.
Washdown begins around the catch, clearing the steel deck before the salmon move below for processing.
Up close, every scale and fin shows a life built in cold currents, hundreds of miles from shore.
Slings gather several giants at once, turning individual trophies into manageable loads for the crane.
The crane swings heavy clusters over the open hatch, sending the catch from open air to fluorescent light below.
Load by load, the deck clears, shifting the value of the trip from exposed steel into chilled interior spaces.
Once the hatch seals, the main deck returns to bare steel, while the real story continues below.
Below deck, bright lights and stainless steel replace wind and waves as the salmon reach the cutting tables. Cuts are mapped before blades touch flesh, ensuring every giant Atlantic salmon yields maximum usable meat. Heads and tails come off in quick, controlled strokes, turning whole fish into manageable sections.
Beneath the skin lies dense, orange-pink flesh, unmistakably Atlantic salmon and nothing else.
Long fillets peel away in smooth motions, falling into rows that match in thickness and length. Pin bones come out one by one, turning rough fillets into refined, kitchen-ready portions. Fillets are portioned into loins and steaks, each cut carrying the same rich Atlantic salmon color. Rows of bright salmon portions cover the trays, each one a controlled unit of value from the offshore harvest. Conveyor belts move the portions forward, guiding Atlantic salmon cuts into airtight protection. Vacuum-sealed bags lock in color and moisture, each labeled clearly as giant Atlantic salmon from offshore grounds. In the cold room, only Atlantic salmon fills the crates, packed in ice and sealed against time. Pallets of salmon line the chilled steel, turning raw ocean energy into organized, counted inventory. Digital logs track every crate of giant Atlantic salmon, recording weights and grades for buyers ashore. Strict temperature controls keep the salmon within narrow limits, preserving quality from sea to market.
With holds chilled and gear secured, the longliner turns toward shore, carrying tons of giant Atlantic salmon below. At first light, the offshore hunter becomes a docked supplier as it slides gently against the commercial pier.
All right, lift it up slow. Coming down now, watch your feet.
In the auction hall, the salmon harvest waits in neat rows, each crate tagged and ready for bidding.
Open lids reveal sealed orange-pink portions, every label spelling out giant Atlantic salmon from cold offshore grounds.
Prices climb quickly as buyers compete, knowing high-grade Atlantic salmon draws strong demand worldwide.
Experienced buyers judge firmness and color, seeking blocks of flesh that promise clean flavor and texture.
Colored tags and quick scans hand ownership of the salmon harvest to distributors and restaurants in seconds. Forklifts feed the cold chain, pushing Atlantic salmon into insulated trailers bound for cities inland. Inside the truck, chilled air rolls over the crates, extending the reach of the ocean far beyond the harbor. Some of the catch disappears into a reefer container, sealed for export, runs far from this northern port.
In a distant kitchen, the journey continues as a chef unpacks pristine Atlantic salmon loins from their icy crates. Outer surfaces are trimmed away, exposing clean flesh, ready for sushi, grilling, or carful roasting.
The loin becomes steaks and sashimi blocks, each cut tailored for a specific style of cooking.
Thin slices fan across chilled porcelain, their vivid orange-pink color telling of fat stored for long migrations.
Here are your giant Atlantic salmon dishes. Enjoy.
Oh wow, that looks incredible. Thank you so much.
I'm telling you, this is the best salmon I've ever had.
To the chef, absolutely.
Cheers to that, brother.
Yeah.
As the final salmon plate leaves the pass, the catch from this voyage is almost entirely transformed into meals.
Later, the dining room returns to calm, the traces of the ocean reduced to memories and receipts.
In the kitchen, blades rest and counters shine, the day's work erased back to polished steel. Out at sea again, the longliner begins another cycle with a bare deck and the same old routine. The captain studies familiar lines on warn charts, already considering where the next salmon migration might be intercepted.
On the surface, the ocean looks empty again, hiding the next wave of giants somewhere below.
Against the horizon, the longliner appears small, a moving dot in a system far larger than any one trip.
Its wake stretches out behind, a fading signature of where longlines and salmon once met.
Coiled and clean, the longlines wait quietly, ready to reconnect vessel and wild salmon when the time is right. Against the wide Atlantic, even a 150-meter ship shrinks into a speck, drifting over dark, restless water.
The hunt for giant Atlantic salmon ends for now, but the cold migration routes remain, waiting in silence.